So a couple of months ago, well, hopefully most of you were here. We had done a show on the LGBT suicide where we had Jared Barrios, who's the president of GLAAD, and we also had Dr. Jacqueline Gunn come in. The other thing that was really kind of interesting to see is really the issue of LGBT homeless youth. Very interesting statistic that I read today. There are, I believe, and we'll confirm this one in a few minutes, there are nightly 3,800 homeless youth that are out on the street every night. Scary little number. Half of them are LGBT. And we really wanted to talk and find out how we could help, what were the stories, and who are the organizations that could help. So we actually invited Stephen Gordon from the Forney Center. He's actually the Associate Director of Supportive Services. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, can you please come on up, Stephen Gordon. Welcome, Mr. Stephen Gordon. Come on up. There's your mic.
Welcome.
Hello, hello.
Have a seat. So, Stephen.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the Forney Center.
Well, first I want to say thanks for having me follow Frank. I mean, my gosh. But it gets better, Frank. You tell them. But, you know, I work with gay teenagers, so I'm used to a rough audience. So I'm not nervous at all. So the Forney Center was founded almost 10 years ago by my boss, Carl Siciliano, who knew a young person by the name of Ali, who was brutally murdered on the streets of New York about 13 years ago. And I think he was so affected by this that he thought that, you know, spending his adult life working with homeless people, he saw there was a need for this particular issue. So he took his own money and started the Forney Center out of a church basement almost 10 years ago, and now we house 55 kids a night, and we serve about 300 kids a day.
Wow. So that's great.
Pretty cool.
So, I mean, you house 55 kids a night. How do they find you?
They find us via the internet, Facebook, word of mouth.
Wait a minute. Hold on. So the homeless kids have Facebook and the internet? And
the homeless kids, I mean, talk about resourceful. Their phones are better than my BlackBerry. Like, they
really?
They know how to get what they need when needed, and they find us via the internet mostly.
When you think of homeless, you don't even think of phone.
Right.
I don't
exactly.
Think of I think of nothing. Absolutely having nothing. So that's.
So do you also then help them get a job or try to get back on their feet? I mean,
totally.
What's the follow-up process with it?
So the center that I run, it's actually right down the street off 10th Avenue and 22nd. We have a drop-in center where we see about 50 kids a day. Those kids don't live with us yet, but they come. We figure out what their issues are. It's more than just housing always. After we figure out what their issues are, we kind of make a plan with the young person to see how we're going to kind of stabilize them. And in this center, it's very tiny, but we see about 700 kids a year, literally like a 15-minute walk down the street. In that little space, we can provide them with medical, psychiatric, mental health issues, case management, and of course the basic necessities of food, shower, legal services, and of course vocational stuff because they need to learn how to be self-sustaining.
Now, you also provide housing for about 2 years at a time for these kids. Is that true?
So there, you know, we've got an emergency program where a kid lives with us for 6 months, and in that 6 months, we try to stabilize them. And if the kid can stay with us for that long, you know, these kids are dealing with a lot of issues even once they're housed. If they can stay with us for that long, then we think, well, maybe you can be in an upper tier program where you can live with us for 2 years. We'll help you get a job. Okay. You'll pay us rent. That rent is just a basic savings account that you get when you leave. It's an ING account. And we've had kids leave, I'm serious, with $15,000 in their bank account.
Okay.
I have in mind.
It's about teaching, you know, life skills and resources.
So is there an age limit?
I don't know if you're a fiance.
No, let me ask you this, because I know statistically there's a problem with kids in foster homes aging out of the foster homes. You know, they get to be 18 and they no longer live in the foster home and they were never adopted. So is that a large percentage of the kids, or is it just a whole?
It's a whole consortium, and I would say half of them come from the New York City area, New Jersey, Connecticut, the 5 boroughs, and we get about the other half from out of state, Southern, the West, Midwest, a lot of Caribbean kids. A lot of kids are finding us from Latin America and East Africa.
So do you find with the Latin American kids and the Caribbean kids, are they being thrown out of their homes from their parents because of the culture?
I would say that's the primary issue. Yes, it's deep-seated homophobia within one's religion or ethnic background, which is really sad because a lot of these youth feel very connected to their religion, which I know you guys have talked about here, and their community, and then have their community basically say, you're connected to us, we're not connected to you, go off and figure it out yourself.
So now, while they're with you, are there rules they have to follow, and are they supervised while they're in the housing?
There are so many rules. They hate us for the rules. They come in thinking I'm cute, and they leave thinking I'm a tyrant. But I think that's so neat. We provide the utmost structure, and when they're with us, they're supervised 24/7 by at least 3 or 4 staff. Okay.
So, can you give us a story, just like something that sticks in your mind of someone that really touched you?
A favorite
A favorite kid, one that didn't get on my nerves as much. No, there have been just so many. There's this one incredible young woman. She came to us from Ethiopia. She managed to find her way from Ethiopia to New York City. She was kind of kicked out of her village. Before even her coming out as lesbian, she was mutilated, vaginal mutilation of her clitoris. So much trauma this young woman went through, but she came to us, and I remember meeting her thinking, my gosh, she's brilliant. How articulate she was. She managed to get a bed with us. She managed to start babysitting. Then she gets into Brooklyn College. She then transfers from Brooklyn College to Brown University. Wow. Saved $13,000 babysitting, and is now doing some type of research archaeology where she actually went back to Africa to do research, and now she's living at Brown.
That is incredible. Amazing. That is completely amazing. But I mean, you kind of have to hand it to places like the Forney Center to give these kids the opportunity to do this, though. Because I mean, without you, there's no way that this could happen, right?
So how is the funding now? I mean, do you?
And I really thank you for mentioning the funding. It's such a lead-in. In times like these, with the recession. Historically so bad. Government funding is drying up. We have national and state Congress kind of seizing funds on so many programs. New York State legislation is trying to pass a budget that would kind of cut runaway and homeless youth services in half for the state of New York, which would affect the LA Forney Center, but also services throughout the entire state. So if we can receive funding from private folks, as yourselves, with that money we can do whatever we want. So I think in times like these, that's when we have to try to diversify and get the community to help us as much as possible.
And I would think it's expensive to run an organization like this with housing and all the things that you provide.
It's so expensive to have places in Chelsea where the kids feel safe enough to go. And our housing model is very, very different. Instead of like having these warehouse shelters where there are like 18,000 people on one floor, we have 6 kids to an apartment with one staff that can give them a lot of attention overnight. So the model can be...
And staffing volunteer, they're employed by you?
Employed, and the generous support of volunteers who we do lean on so much. So,
how did you get involved with the Forney Center? While you answer that question, I'm going to go out into the audience and see if there are any questions.
I was finishing graduate school, and I was working in an HIV clinic, and I thought, I want to do something different than this. Like I love working with disease and public health, but I thought, I always wanted to work with youth, and I saw a job listing, and I went, and my boss said, "You've got strange hair, but I like your energy. Here's the job. Good luck."
Wow.
I think we have a question over here.
Oh, yes.
It's not really a question. I think you can go to the Broadway beauty pageant on Monday night, and all the proceeds go to the Forney Center.
My God, my other commercial. So Monday night at Symphony Space, we are having this thing called the Broadway beauty pageant, where We've got beautiful Broadway chorus boys from 5 shows: Chicago, La Cage, Mary Poppins, Spider-Man. Forgive me if I can't remember the others. Where they will be going through a pageant of sorts where they'll be performing, answering a question, and then, of course, burying their beautiful bodies, all with the proceeds going to us. Tova Felch will be our host, and Bruce Valanche, Carson Kressley, and our guest judges. And the third one's I'm being lost on. No, another SNL gal. Rachel Dratch, yes. So it's going to be incredible.
Wow,
you guys should come
Monday
out.
night.
It's Monday night at Symphony Space. You can still get tickets at you go to Symphony Space's website or the AliForneyCenter.org website. It'll be a lot of fun.
We have one more question over here.
Sure.
You know, in keeping with the theme of "Thank You for Being a Friend" that was played before,
Yes.
You know, B. Arthur did the benefit for you guys shortly, a few years before her death, and then bequeathed quite a bit of money to the Ali Forney Center. Do you know what kind of funding that is, like what kind of facilities that's going to fund and when that center will open that she funded?
Yes, we haven't named it yet, but so number one, B. Arthur did a benefit for us. This broad was so ballsy. She literally drank vodka straight from the bottle she wanted to. She's like, I don't want no damn ice. Her voice was so deep. But when she died, my boss had no idea that in her estate she left us $300,000, which was an amazing thing to do. And the goal with that is for the California Center to actually buy, instead of renting, buy a space for our transitional program, the 2-year program in Brooklyn. So instead of us, essentially wasting money on rent, we can actually invest and have a sustaining space for the kids.
That's awesome.
So we love you, B.
Exactly.
There are like 3 floors to the house. It hasn't been open yet. I think every floor is going to be named like one of her characters. Maud floor.
Maud, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love that. So, we have another question here. Okay.
More question.
Yes.
Michelle, I'm crossing the camera.
It's actually kind of 2 questions. One is it one space that you house the people in, or is it several spaces? And when you say you have volunteers, like what kind of volunteers, or how would you get involved as a volunteer?
All right, that's you guys. I don't have to pitch anything. This is a great audience. So we've got 2 day centers, is what we call them. One here in Chelsea, which is our busiest, where we're kind of just addressing the kids' basic needs. And we have a vocational space in Brooklyn. And then we've got scattered apartments throughout Queens, 1 huge apartment in Astoria, and a bunch scattered through Brooklyn, mostly in Park Slope and the Bed-Stuy area. So we're scattered throughout Brooklyn. We're scattered through the 3 boroughs. And if you do want to volunteer, you just essentially go to our website, iPhoneCenter.org, and you'll see the guy's name who's in charge of volunteers. His name is Bill Torres. He's also an actor. And he will set you up with an orientation and an appointment. Very simple. So you can do many things. You can go to the apartments and cook with the kids in the evening, maybe play some board games, just sit and talk. A lot of you need adult attention.
I like board games.
I love board games too. Ooh. Or you can come to one of our day sites and help us serve the meals to the kids, help us answer the phones, even help me with my filing. It's very simple things that you think are small, but really, with an organization that has such limited means, it's such a huge thing.
And say the website one more time.
The AliForneyCenter.org. ALIFORNEY Center.org. I said that's slow enough. I'm sorry.
So definitely, go out there, with all of the funding and that's being cut and everything. We need as much help as possible.
And one more thing, if you go, so we're very public with some of our issues. This one issue in terms of the budget cuts. Change.org has posted a survey to Cuomo kind of saying, I am a resident of New York State. Please don't cut these funds. And if you're interested, you can go to either Change.org on their gay issues part of their website, or go to the AliForneyCenter.org, and right on the front page of our website, just go and take this very quick survey. We just give your name and your address, and we'll go to Cuomo kind of saying, we need the funds for these kids.
Yeah.
And we'll have that information on the Qtalk
great.
website too.
So forward us all of that information, and we'll put it on the Qtalk website, and we will help as much as possible and just promote you guys as much as possible.
And Monday nights, the Symphony Center at 7.
Symphony Space at 8 o'clock. It's on Broadway and 89th. Wow, these guys are really good. Correct me if I'm wrong with the address, too.
That's okay. I thought the show tonight started at 9:45, and I'm the host. So, Symphony Space.
Well, thank you
Well,
so much.
Thank
for
you
coming on.
so
having me.
much.
Thank you for
You were
everything.
lovely.
Okay. So, guys, anything you could do, please try to help.
Qtalk's for you. Let us talk.